looking on his smiling face. That is why I shout and sing. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Though sometimes he leads through waters deep, trials all across the way. Though sometimes the path seems rough and steep, see his footprints all the way. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Soon he's coming back to welcome me, far beyond the starry sky. I shall wing my flight to worlds unknown, I shall reign with him on high. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. You may be seated. A Redeemer, Jesus, God's own Son, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, Holy One. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. Jesus, my Redeemer, name above all names, precious Lamb of God, Messiah, hope for sinners slain. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. When I stand in glory, I will see his face. There I'll serve my King forever in that holy place. Thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. And thank you, oh my Father, for giving us your Son and leaving your Spirit till the work on earth is done. On a hill called Calvary stands an endless mercy tree. Every broken, weary soul find your rest and be made whole. Stripes of blood that stained its frame, shed to wash away our shame. From the scars pure love release, salvation brought, the suffering. Oh, praise him for the mercy tree. Death has died, love has won. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Jesus Christ has overcome. He has risen from the dead. Death has died, love has won. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Jesus Christ has overcome. He has risen from the dead. Oh, death has died, love has won. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Jesus Christ has overcome. He has risen from the dead. He has risen from the dead. Oh, he has risen from the dead. On a hill called Calvary stands an endless mercy tree. Please stand as we continue singing. This will be our offertory song for the evening. For all that you've done, I will thank you. For all that you're going to do. For all that you've promised and all that you are.
presence and would gain strength from you, and that they might feel our prayers towards them. Thank you again for all you do for us. I pray you be with us through this week. Be with our pastor tonight as he brings your word to us. Thank you again for all you do, but most of all, we thank you for your son. It's in his name I pray. Amen.
I feel kind of like, yeah, we're about over now. I feel kind of like I'm cheating tonight. I didn't buy a ticket, and that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Well, the next half hour is going to be pretty ambitious. We got a lot to talk about, and we want to try to move along. And the first matter of business that we're going to deal with is the reorganization of our committees, and then we're going to move on and take a look at some projected capital improvement projects for the coming months and years. And I want to begin by prefacing, we have been a people who have been committed to do our capital improvements as we have need of doing them and paying for them as we go. And we've been doing that for a long time. The last time that we borrowed money as a church was in 1984. And the church borrowed about $500,000, and it took us a long time to get it paid back. And since that time, we've paid for as we've gone. And in the last 12 years, we've done almost $1 million of improvements and just maintenance to the buildings and to this campus, which is just a part of necessity. And we have some more of those projects to bring to you tonight. And again, it did not come lightly. The group has worked hard at trying to evaluate what our most immediate needs are and recognize that they could have come up with an extraordinarily long list. But tonight, I think you'll see as they've kind of narrowed down and zeroed in on some things that really are important that will help to maintain our campus and help maintain the opportunity that we have to continue to minister at this location for a long period of time. So we got a lot to tend to tonight. Some of it is organizational, and some of it is really kind of out there in the future. There were about almost 60 people involved in the meeting last week as we had an opportunity to really kind of go through line by line the reorganization. Tonight we're going to do kind of a basic overview, and then we're going to open up and we'll have opportunity for questions and that sort of thing. And Randy has come prepared to answer all of your questions tonight. And he is going to be ready to do that. Begin by telling you that when we took a look at our existing committees, it was 1998 was the last time that we actually reviewed all the task descriptions for the committees, and a few things have changed. Al Gore invented the internet, and there are a few things that have changed since 1998, and so it's always good to go back and to look at those things. But for some time, I've really questioned whether or not perhaps there might be a better way for us to approach dealing with our committees. And we are a committee-driven church and will remain a committee-driven church as we want for the vision of the church to bubble up from within the congregation. It's not the pastor's responsibility to be the sole source of vision, but things come from within. And finding ways for things to help bubble up from within is an important thing, and it's always happened through committees. And so that is going to continue to be the case. But there are times where committees get so isolated and kind of trapped out on their little island and are really not in a position to be able to help bring forward some of the ideas and some of the thoughts that they have about the ministry and the life of our church. And so it's always been helpful whenever we've been able to have larger groups and more people involved and invested in the decision process and in the thought process and the planning process. And so what we've done is looked at how we can help build some really key essential teams by dividing the workload amongst our committees in these particular areas that we're going to look at tonight. The first slide that I want to direct your attention to is basically the fact that the organization of the church hinges around three major components. The first that we'll talk about here for just a minute is the ministry. And this is the activity of the church, the things that happen inside the walls. It's our discipleship, our pastoral care, it's the mentoring programs, and all the things that happen inside of the walls to help facilitate the ministry of the church. You're familiar with Paul's letter to the Ephesians in the 4th chapter. He reminds those who are apt to help prepare and to teach those who are in the church, gifted to help create and to strengthen and to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. And all of that happens inside of the walls of our church. And so when we come into this place, and we have Sunday school, and we have discipleship opportunities, and we have fellowship opportunities, and we have family life opportunities, and we have recreational opportunities, all of those things that happen inside of the church, what we're proposing is that we move those into a consolidated group, and we're going to call them our ministry team. The second aspect is that of the missions. That's what happens outside the walls. And that's all of our evangelism and our outreach and all of the mission opportunities that we have to impact the world, being able to take the gospel into our neighborhood as well as across the sea, and all of the mission aspect of our church. And so we've looked at the committees that have responsibility for the external outreach of the church and have put them into a group that we're calling our ministry, our mission team. And I like the little diagram because it shows how all of these things have to kind of work in concert, and they're all driven by one another. And when you look at a lot of places, the heaviest, biggest wheel in the cog is the administration. And we want to follow all of the resources and all the things that we have, and we spend a good bit of time keeping up with those. And there are some places that's about all they have time for, is just keeping up and trying to keep the doors open. And we propose that probably that ought not be the largest cog, but maybe perhaps the right-sized smaller cog, the one that is going to help to facilitate all of those things. Now, it may not necessarily be number of people, because you're going to notice that there are a significant number of people that have been assigned to the administrative task. There are a significant number of people that have been assigned to the mission task, the ministry task. These groups are all fairly close to the same size in nature. But what we want to try to do is to help create some focus and to help create some synergy in each of these areas by bringing together a few more people into our meetings and to involve them in the process. And so the handout that you received has got a task description for each team, or a mission statement, and it describes what the work of that group is going to be. And then you can see that there are individual task descriptions for each group that is serving inside of that team, and the number of people that will be involved in that. And when you look at the administration team, you'll see that there are 27 folks that will be elected by the church to serve on that team and will be assigned to one of those groups. And then when we look at what we've had in the past, we've had a committee on committees, a financial stewardship committee, properties committee, vehicle maintenance, personnel, memorial gifts. We've had 36 people assigned to that task. We're going to move to 27 assigned to that task, and they will help to take care of all of the material and physical and people resources that we have in the church, both those that are vocational as well as those that are volunteers. So that's where our personnel committee is going to be. That's where our properties group is going to be, our finance group, and that sort of thing. Now, one of the things in a practical way where this really becomes helpful is when we're actually planning and working on projects and doing big things and significant things that require interaction between the groups. Historically, and tonight is a beautiful example. In just a little while, you're going to hear a joint recommendation from two of our standing committees, the Finance Committee and the Properties Committee. And for them to be able to operate over the last several months to try to come up with this plan, it's meeting with one group and taking that information to the other group, and then meeting with that group and bringing information back, and then finally joint meetings and all that sort of thing. In the future, all of these guys are going to be in the room together all the time and have opportunity to discuss these things in helping to prepare to bring them forward to the church. And so all of the aspects of the particular team will be able to be discussed and information brought forward to the church on a monthly basis. And so we're looking forward to having a lot more communication, a lot more dialogue, but also being able to move a little quicker about being able to respond to opportunities and to needs. That's the case for each of the different groups. And so each team, administration, ministry, and then ultimately missions, all three of those teams are going to be comprised of a number of groups. Once that team is assembled, they'll select from amongst themselves a team leader and or a chairman, a chairperson Could be a chairwoman, chairman, could be a... I guess I better leave it alone. Could be it will be a chairperson. They'll also select from amongst themselves an assistant chair that will help to facilitate the responsibilities of the chair when the chair is not available. Each of the groups will have a group captain, and the captain would be what we would have called a committee chairman. And they'll be responsible for helping to set up the group meetings and to help tend to the group business and that sort of thing. One thing that's going to happen is that when we move into this team strategy, and we're having these 3 team meetings during the course of the month, all of the ministerial staff will be available to participate in those meetings. And so we're going to have the opportunity to provide as much resource and as much help and as much empowerment as we possibly can by all being available with each of the groups. As it is now, everybody has their assignments and get divided all over the place, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with. So we're going to be able to, to all participate in the work of the church. And then each of the teams will have, some other assistants to help keep track of the activities of their team and help prepare that information to be brought forward to the church. So when we have a business meeting, you're going to have opportunity to hear a team report from each of the teams and the activity that's going on in ministry, mission, and as well as administration, as that information is necessary to be brought to the church. And so, again, this is an opportunity for there to be more communication and more people involved and more folks on board with what's going on in the planning and then ultimately in the execution of those plans. Okay? So that's kind of the plan in a nutshell. And so, do you have questions or discussion? Some of you have had now a week to think about this, and maybe you're more confused now than you were before, or less confused, or maybe you've had an epiphany and you have something to share with us tonight. Yes, once a month. Yeah, each team will meet. Each team will meet once a month. Mm-hmm. Exactly. The first week of the month is reserved for the deacons, and the deacons have their regular meeting on the first Sunday of the month. The second Sunday would be the ministry group. The third Sunday, in preparation for business meeting, would be the administrative group. Business meeting would follow on that next Wednesday night, and then the fourth Sunday of the month would be the missions team, and the fifth Sunday is all in, right? No, the fifth Sunday is a great day off. So, any other questions? Thank you. Any other questions? That's correct. The way that the finance committee works right now, there's 9 members on the committee, and they are divided into 3 subcommittees. One is the stewardship education, and there's a little group for stewardship on here. There's a group for the budget preparation, and then there's a group within the group that is responsible for all the reporting. So they've been functioning kind of this way for a long time. For helping to bring the budget to this group. Yeah. But instead of bringing that budget to a group of 9, they're going to bring the budget to a group of 27. So there'll be 27 people involved in actually finalizing the preparation of the budget to bring to the church, as opposed to 9. So there's opportunity for more people to be involved. But one thing that we and I can give you lots and lots of testimony about about the way that our committees function. Generally, whenever you're working on a particular project or plan, there are those on the committee who really have a heart for that particular piece of the work, and will end up doing the vast majority of the work and bringing that back to the committee, and then the committee is able to, kind of take a look at it and review. And I would love to tell you that every year all 9 people on the properties committee were involved in every discussion and in every situation, but it's not practical, and it's not necessarily beneficial. Sometimes it's helpful for those who really have a heart to zero in and kind of do the legwork and hammer out the details, and then bring them back to the group.
Having served on a lot of committees here in this church, I have noticed that a lot of times there's not a quorum.
Right.
So is there any quorum necessary to carry on a meeting of, say, 3 members? You have 3 members, and if nobody shows up, then you don't have a meeting. That's going to be a very difficult committee to get 3 people that are concerned
Right.
enough about the finances of the church. They want to meet
Right.
to figure out the overall budget. That just seems like an awful few people.
Right. Right.
But
And we may end up adding more people to it.
that's going to work.
We may end up adding more people to it. The thing that I think is going to be a part of our learning curve here, and again, we don't want to necessarily carve everything in granite. There's got to be some opportunity for some growth, because this is kind of a new idea. I mean, it's a new way for us to go, and we're going to learn how to make adjustments and learn how to modify. But one thing that is for certain, when it comes time, to prepare and to bring a budget forward, you're going to have 27 folks who have that responsibility to see to it that gets accomplished. And if the 3 that have that responsibility are having a struggle, they have some people to reach out to. They have some people to invite into their process and to get some immediate help, because they're all going to work as a team. But these people are going to have kind of an area of responsibility that is their area to kind of keep a vigilant watch on. Does that make sense?
Not making any,
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
to me, it just seems like a small group to try to
Mhm.
find 3 members that are willing to meet in the times that they need to meet in order to get an overall budget
Right.
prepared.
Right.
But then, as you say, they do have this 27.
Yeah. There's definitely some peer pressure and some some help and some people that are available to help see to it that it gets accomplished.
Hear that, Brother Dave?
Any other questions? Any other questions? This comes as a recommendation from your Committee on Committees. They did a lot of spent a lot of time looking over these committee task descriptions, and seeing to it that that they're all complete, and seeing to it that they're all up to date and that sort of thing. And they really have done an excellent job at doing that, and they are to certainly be applauded and thanked.
Do you by any chance have a slide showing how all of these work in concert?
Well, that's kind of the first slide. Is all of them moving together? Yeah, there's 3 teams, and in each one of those teams, all of these groups are working together to accomplish their task. I made the mistake last week and was really kind of coached not to say this, but there's an element of truth. Some of this we're going to have to get it out here and get started, and see where it might take us, because some of the things, we may have to make some adjustments. We may have to amend the plan as we move forward. May throw it out and start over. Absolutely. Yeah, but it's a starting place, and it's a way for us to get moving. The next thing that would happen if we decide to do this, then our Committee on Committees would get back together and begin the process of putting people in these places and helping them to get the assignments worked out. Back December, these are all elected, assigned, positions. Yeah. The end of December, 1/3 of our committees, and I believe that there are like 93 committee slots, 1/3 of our committees rotate off and really have no assignment. But we've asked them to extend their service until we get all of this tended to. And so if you were on a committee last year, you're on the committee this year, and you're in the same slot, be it 3-year, 2-year, 1-year term, you're in the same slot that you were in last year. You're on that same track. Now, there's a few places where the numbers are going to have to be worked out as far as the size and the assignments and that sort of thing. So they're going to go to work on that and help get all of the terms lined out. And so you'll be getting contacted about your place because they're going to contact everybody. There's not going to be anything taken for granted. They're going to contact everybody and ask them if they're willing to continue to serve perhaps on the committee they're on, or if they have maybe a desire to be somewhere else. This is an opportunity for us to do that. And again, want to provide opportunity for you to move into the area of a place where you have affinity, be it mission, ministry, administration, the place where you feel like your gifts would best be resourced by the church, and get you in the right team. And again, as we shared with the group last time, one thing that has not changed, all the meetings that we have are open. And that's the case here in the church, with the exception of a few things that sometimes need to be dealt with in a confidential way. But most of the meetings that we have here are open. And when you look in your bulletin and you see when a committee's meeting, you certainly have the freedom to go. You may not have the freedom to vote, but you have the freedom to go and to share your 9 cents worth. And so I would hope that you would take advantage of that. But in this situation, you're going to have the opportunity to go and participate in the team meetings and find out what's going on and participate with them in that respect. You're not going to have voting privilege. Only those that have been appointed by the church are going to be able to do that. But you will have the opportunity to go and participate and be up to speed on what's going on in the particular area of the life of the church that you have an interest in. And you also become a resource to that group, to help them to accomplish the things that they're planning or the things that they're doing. Make sense?
In other words, to answer Brother David's question, yes, Brother David, we're going to let you to the flower committee.
There you go.
I can handle it, Brother Tom. Whatever the Lord leads me, I can do it.
Okay, we have a call for question. Are you? Well, first of all, I'll tell you what. Let's do. Let's get a recommendation out here, and then we'll do that. This comes as a recommendation from Committee on Committees. It does not require a second, but it is now on the floor as a recommendation. Further discussion, we have a call for question. If you're prepared to vote, this is not the vote on the recommendation, but it is a vote on whether or not you're prepared to vote and to cease discussion. So if you're prepared to cease discussion and vote, would you indicate that with an uplifted right hand? And I see that we're prepared to vote. Right on cue. All right. And tonight, if you vote in the affirmative to approve this recommendation, would you indicate that with an uplifted right hand and a hearty amen? Amen. If you vote in the negative, would you indicate that with an uplifted right hand? And I see none, and so we'll consider this a matter of business tended to. And we'll begin working with the Committee on Committees and start getting folks in their pew and getting these teams assigned. And we'll look forward to that happening as soon as we can. I would guess that probably maybe perhaps a good target for us would be sometime by May or thereabouts. To have a month or month and a half to actually get all of our assignments made and get people where they belong. So that'll be pretty ambitious as we move into the spring. Okay?
Who would somebody see if they wanted to volunteer for a particular area?
Randy or Susan or Sharon? Jeff Jones he's working tonight. And then Tish and Ruth Ferry. I bet we can do that. All right. Any other discussion about that? All right. At this time, the chairman of our Properties Committee, the Honorable Stan Leverett, is going to come. And do you need some help, Grandpa? The copier created all kinds of issues for us, today. And you may get a two-sided color copy. You may get a one-sided color copy. You may get a black and white copy. I'm not sure that there's enough for everybody in the room. So if 4 or 5 families would take one per family, there might be sufficient. We'll pass them around here and see how it turns out. That's a part of the financing plan for one of these projects, huh? Can Stan have one? Yeah. That's where I'm going to read it from, but I want to. Okay. Anybody else need one? I think we have a couple left here. Is everybody able to look on if you don't have one for yourself? And if you'd like to have your own copy of this after we're finished, if you'll let us know, and we will get you a commemorative copy of tonight's presentation made, signed by Mr. Leverett himself. So.
Well, Russell was going to do this, but he's too shy, so it fell to me. What I'm going to do tonight, first off, let me explain a little bit. This is not something that's taken a short period of time to get put together. We have worked for 4 years on thinking about these projects and things we need to do in our church to keep our church going and keep things advancing and moving in our church. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to go through the projects really pretty quick. You've got the information here. Most of the information is here on those. And then there will be the second part will be from the Finance Committee talking about all I'm talking about is the projects. I'm not the money guy. So they'll talk about the money, and then we'll come back and tell you kind of the scope of things, the stages, and how we'll put it into play, and bring the recommendation at that time. But first off, I'd like to just go through the projects as they are here. first one in your little handout is the renovation of the restrooms in the South Education Wing. I think most of you, if you use those in the adult wing back there in the back, you'll know that they are in major need of some renovations. Okay? And I'm supposed to read that? Okay, the scope of this project. We're going to demolish the existing interior finishes and fixtures, reconfigure the floor plan, and you'll see the floor plans there, enlarge the entrances to ADA standards, provide handicap access, install new finishes, plumbing fixtures, and partitions, install point-of-use hot water. Does everybody know what that is? And then we're going to address the HVAC issues, the heating and air conditioning, because a lot of times it's not really uncomfortable in the bathroom. And I don't know about you, but for me, I really like to be comfortable in the bathroom. So that's going to be addressed in this. Okay, next slide. I need a button. I need a button. Okay, the cost of this project is approximately $41,500. The expenses are related to the scope of the project, permits and asbestos survey that we'll have to do, site management and general contractor's fees, and a 60 to 90 day time frame for completion of that project. That's project number one. Maybe not project number one in the order, but that's the first one we talked about. Okay, next slide. Renovation of the restrooms in the auditorium hallway, right out here. Last stop before you come to church every Sunday. Scope.
Going back to the restrooms and the South Education, both those pictures on this page are the same, number 4 and after, right?
Yes, they're the same. We didn't put what they look like now. Yeah, everything on this is what it's gonna, pretty close to what it's gonna look like when we're done. Okay?
Where did you say these are, Stan? These are in the back of the auditorium, right? Over here.
Right here.
No, let's go on, let's go back a little bit. Just to run it all. Ain't all of it. Oh, okay, all right, I see. I'm turning around now.
Okay. The scope of this project is basically the same as the other one. We're gonna reconfigure the floor, do the demolition, enlarge the entrance, provide handicap access, install new fixtures and plumbing, work with hot water, and address the HVAC issues. Does anybody know, do you know we have hot water in here now? You gotta let it run a long time. But if you stay like all through church, sit in there and let it run, by the end of church, don't do that. Brother Mike wants to preach. Okay, next one. Okay, the cost of this, you notice these bathrooms are smaller. The cost of this project is $34,800. Basically the same thing, about a 60 to 90 day time frame for completion, and the cost will cover the scope of the project and the fees, the contractor's fees, and the permits that we need to get. Now, I will say something really quick here. You'll notice that there are asbestos survey listed on here. If we do the survey and find asbestos, we'll be coming back to you, because we can't do these projects as they are now if we have an asbestos problem. So that would be something that we would address at that point in time. We're keeping our fingers crossed that there's no major asbestos, and this is what we want to do. Okay, next slide. The South Wing improvements. Some of these are things that are ongoing already. We're starting to work on these a little bit. The lighting and electrical systems are in need of attention. The furnishings are in need of an update. Next slide. Okay, additional convenience outlets in each room will come out of the maintenance budget. I don't know if you realize it or not, but we have a tendency to throw breakers down that hall when everybody turns their coffee makers on at the same time. So we're doing some shifting of the outlets, putting some new circuits in the panels, so we'll have better electricity down that hall. Drop-in lighting for each room. I don't know if you've been in the, I'll show you, well, showed it on the other. If you've been in the youth room, we put some drop-in lighting where they don't hang down below the ceiling. They'll be flush mounted in the ceiling. That's in the plan. Here you can see on the left the flush mounted lights there. Okay, new chairs for the classrooms down that hall. And you see the cost of each, $5,000 for the lighting, $5,000 for the chairs, and $3,000 for new tables down that hall in each of the Sunday school classrooms down that hall.
What are you gonna do with the ones that are usable?
The ones that are usable, we will continue to use them in one way or another. I don't know if you, we haven't really discussed this, but if you go over to the garage and look at the tables that we pull out anytime we need tables, we've got the best tables down this hall right now. And so what we'll probably use them to do is replace some of those that are falling apart so badly that we can hardly get them out of the rack. Okay? Heating and cooling upgrades, renovation of the heating and cooling systems that service the east and south wings of the educational building. So that's like from the library and youth room all the way down around here to adult 6. Heating and cooling upgrades. Why? The east wing ductwork needs to be redesigned to accommodate the floor plan. The south wing ductwork needs some modifications to improve airflow. The equipment is aging and is next in line for replacement. New, more efficient units will help with our utility costs. We're about ready to replace them. And this is something we've decided this is what we can do by replacing them. Another thing that we can do if we replace them now before they go out, the best one we're going to keep and move it over to the Family Life Center. And it will be on the west end of the Family Life Center, cooling the kitchen and dining area in the Family Life Center. If you've been over there, if you've had anything over there, you realize that we don't have the best heating and cooling in that part of that building right now. So this would be a major upgrade for that over there as well. And this will allow us to do this if it's something that we can do relatively quickly. Okay. Estimated cost about $38,000 to $41,000, somewhere in that price range is what it'll cost us. Here's what the scope of the project: redesign and upgrade all ductwork, remove and replace all heating and cooling components with high efficiency units, and install Wi-Fi controlled thermostats in the area, down the east wing and the south wing. Cost I've already talked about. Okay, next project. This one has been we've been talking about this for a long time. Remodeling the Fellowship Hall. Remodeling the Fellowship Hall by returning it to its former glory, removing the drop ceiling and exposing the original architectural wood beams will improve the acoustics in the room, making it more functional. Modifying the exterior entrance could provide additional space in the kitchen. New heating and cooling for the Fellowship Hall and independent cooling for the kitchen would improve utility efficiency. New lighting and additional AV equipment will make the room more functional for meetings and special events. And here's kind of a picture of what it'd look like when we open it up. I don't know, do some of y'all remember what it used to look like over there? With the open beams across the top. And also, estimated cost of this project is somewhere between $75,000 and $90,000.
Does this include kitchen remodel?
Yes. Yes. Okay, next slide. Okay, now I'm going to turn it over to the finance. We've gone through the projects. You've seen each of the projects, and turn it over. Are you doing this? Brother Mike's going to come and talk about the funding for a minute.
Mark Ferry was going to be here tonight to do this, and he has not returned. You look at the list, and you see that the total of all the projects added together is $219,300. Now, again, these are estimates. Some of the estimates have been updated and received rather recently, and part of the work, if we were to choose to do it, we're going to be pretty close with the cost. The estimate on the Fellowship Hall is an estimate. It is a guesstimation based off of what we've shared with others about what we would like to do, and just kind of an approximation, because there have not been any final plans drawn, because once we get ready to actually do that project, then we'll make plans, but try to work within the scope of this budget. We have a question.
We're doing the restrooms
We've not addressed those at this point.
We
We've
we
not.
have addressed it.
We've talked about them, yeah.
We've addressed it in the meeting, but what we did was we tried to prioritize the restrooms that will get the most use and are in the most need. And when we talk about the scope or the order of things as we're gonna bring them to you, everybody pretty much will agree that the one in the South Hall is probably the most utilized on Sundays. And, so that's the reason that one was left out for now.
Good, yes.
When I first came, long time ago, one of the first business meetings we came to, we had a plan on the easel inside the fellowship hall for the renovation of the fellowship hall and the kitchen and doors cut and closed off and so forth.
Right.
Have they taken that into consideration during this, or is this, can I suggest that they do that when they get down to actually doing it?
Exactly. Some of that was done. We redid the floor surfaces and all of that, and all. We did not do all the modification to the kitchen that we had talked about because the monies were not all available or sufficient. So yeah, all of that work is going to continue to, it's continued to come forward. So we're definitely not out of the woods there. Yes.
A little comment on that when something, an idea is started and it has to be tabled and brought back years later, our building codes can change. So even if we start off with the same layout, no telling what we're gonna have to get into the code. So that's gonna be something that
Yeah.
they're gonna address. They have, we've had side discussions on this, but one of the things is they're becoming a lot more strict on electrical code and energy efficiency. So should we touch that kitchen, depending on what you touch,
Exactly.
the numbers can vary. When you're dealing with the existing building, there's 3 different stages, 3 different levels of requirements depending on how much you use that. So a lot of the stuff that they talk about, we'll have to take that into consideration.
Right. We're extremely blessed to have Richard with us here at Southwest Park. But one thing that I would share with you is that he comes to this meeting tonight as a concerned member, not as a licensed architect. And we want to be cautious and careful with him about that. But he is going to provide us with some good insight and some good direction as we go along, and as a member of our church. And I'm thrilled that he's going to do that. But we're going to be careful not to impose on him or have expectation of him to put his name on the line. So I hope that you can appreciate that and understand that. But he does have some responsibilities. They'll only do one set of restrooms at a time, either the back hall or this set, and we literally could be out of them for 60 to 90 days because they're going to have to clean everything up for Wednesday night, for Sunday. They have to do all of that. But there will be some porta potties on the on the location. But I think you could probably order your own personal and have it delivered. I think that probably would work. Randy, the answer to your question, it's going to be inconvenient for a little while, and we're going to have to figure out how to best, compensate, for that inconvenience.
We had
you're going to have to plan your LASIKs wisely. It will definitely be an adventure. So, judging from our dog and pony so far, we don't really have an answer for your question, I don't think, outside of the fact that we're going to have to make some provisions somehow. I think the personal porta potty is a possibility. You know, it really could create opportunity for people to explore places in the building they've not been before. So, you know, but yeah, just try not to kick the little kids out of the way when you're running to the, yeah. Depends with the bulletins. Okay, there you go. Gayla's in rare form tonight. All right. Any other questions about the bathrooms that you've seen so far? You know, and then we'll talk about the rest of it. Any other? New soundproofing.
Well, what we're doing, I don't know if you've ever seen these before, but you can buy toilets that when you sit on them, they play music. So we figured if we get those, it would just not be it.
Oh, for real? Boy, there's a, yeah. Occupancy just went up. Wow. Do you need a hat? Any other discussion? If anybody else has private suggestions that they would like to bring forward, certainly I think that would be, you'd receive those, wouldn't you? All right. Correct. They're not in priority right now. Any other questions about any of the projects that were presented so far? All right. This is the cost of the whole thing if we were to do the whole project. The Financial Stewardship Committee has been the custodian of our money market account and have used it for capital improvements. A number of years ago, we received a gift of about $100,000 that was to be used for capital improvement projects. That was kind of the desire, was that it not be used for anything other than basically brick and mortar kinds of things. And so over the years, we have been faithful to use those funds in that way. We have far outspent that initial $100,000 gift. But what we've done is to maintain the integrity of that concept by continuing to replenish that as we've used it elsewhere. And realizing that there's not any responsibility or there's not any real mandate to maintain any portion of it. We could have used it all and it could have all been done, gone, and finished. But what the committee chose to do was to try to extend the life of that gift for a longer period of time. And so what we've done is we have used it to help create a resource for us to literally borrow from ourselves, and at the end of the project, then to be able to replenish that. The last capital improvement project that we did, all of the exterior and all of that, there's still a couple of three things that are going to be done to complete that. We still have some landscape issues over here on the side where there's irrigation required that has not been installed, and a couple of light fixtures out here in the underneath the awning, and the lights that go on the sign there's still some electrical work and that sort of thing. Those monies are still set aside, and they have been secured. So when the season is right and the people are in the right place, we're going to be able to finish those things. So we began replenishing this fund, and we're about somewhere around $10,000 short of being able to rebuild the fund back to the $60,000 that we started with when we started this last project. And so what the Finance Committee is going to suggest to you tonight by way of recommendation is that we finish that project of replenishing that fund and move it back to $60,000. As soon as it gets back to $60,000, they're prepared to make $45,000 available for us to begin this work and for us to continue building through giving. And it's each time, and you're going to get a three-stage project. As each stage is completed, we would replenish what we've borrowed and then move on to the next project. And so you'll see that as these projects are staged out, that the first one is about $86,000. And so once we've replenished our fund, we're going to get to start with $45,000. And as soon as we get to the 86, then we have sufficient funds to actually complete stage one and begin replenishing our fund, getting ready for stage two. As soon as that $45,000 comes back in, then we're ready to go again on stage two. As soon as the stage two project is complete and we replenish back to the 45, then we're ready to finish stage three. And at the end of the project, then we'll be back where we are this very day, owing $45,000 back into this capital improvement fund. Now, here's the deal. Tonight, if someone were to write, Pat Bechtel, an $86,000 check, I heard you were going to do it. I don't know. But if someone were to give $86,000 for stage one, we would be able to complete stage one, and take that 45 into stage two. And so we'd be ready to continue moving on. Get the drift? So the quicker we raise the funds, the faster the stages will go. And we'll be able to press on and continue. It seems to be within reach to think that it's possible for us to raise about $125,000 a year. That seems to be something that is relatively normal or natural for us. Perhaps maybe we can do better than that. Perhaps maybe it takes a little bit longer. But regardless, we don't go any further than our money will take us. Okay? Does that make sense? So that's the plan that the Finance Committee wants to put before you. Any other question? Brother Jonathan is ready to dismiss. So if you want to join him, let's stand together and we'll join hands across the way and we'll dismiss our time.
We'll just do this Church Christ way. So here we go. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know, fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go.